Hi guys, welcome to this session on Microsoft Project. In this module I want to show you how you can get started using Microsoft Project. So we're going to create a task list, we're going to link it, we're going to create a resource list, and we're going to assign resources. So first of all, a simple task list. Now before I start, I just want to point out a couple of things that I tend to change in Project. One is this bar across the top. It's a bit similar to the one in Excel where you can see what you type in. And two is this view bar down this left hand side. So when you first come into Project, that's not there. It's just usually like this. You can right click and get these views. So a view is a term used in Project to describe what you are looking at on the screen. Within a view you get a table. This is a table. This is the table part of the view. This view itself is the default Gantt chart view. You can see that Gantt chart view. This table part of the Gantt chart can rotate. If I go to tasks, that's wrong. If I go to view, you can see these tables, lots of tables that I've created myself, which you can do, and then the default ones are here with more tables are linked there, and you basically click on these. Nothing's going to be different at the moment because there's no data there, but you can see the titles change. So I'll put it onto entry and I'll show you how that works once we get some tasks on here. Now this bar across the top is accessed via options, so you need to go file, options, right down the bottom, and then where it's called you need to find it in here. So it's under display and that's the entry bar there. That's what you want ticking, so that's not normally on. This is called the entry bar. Click OK to that and then it's on. Now another thing that I changed from the default settings is this. At the bottom it says new tasks are auto scheduled, and if I click on that you've got manually scheduled. Again, to change that you need to go back into options and you've got schedule, and the settings are under schedule. So basically you've got new tasks created are auto scheduled. By default it's on manual. Now what does that mean, you might think? What that means is if I just click OK to this, and you need to make sure that's on for all new projects, just cancel that off. When you do a task, if I type a task in there, task A, with automatic scheduling on, you immediately get today's date and the finish date is only 1 day duration. If it's on manual, see what happens here. So I'll just pull that down a little bit. So this second one's on manual. I'll put it on task B, and you can see there you get no information at all. You'll have to type it all in. Now one of the features that I quite like in Project is that you can create a summary task and all the tasks underneath, the duration is collated and you've got an overarching duration at the top. However, not if you've got tasks set to manual. So I'm just going to delete these two now, highlighting the rows and pressing delete to get rid of them, and I'll start typing some tasks. The first one's going to be the title, so software implementation, that's going to be the title, and it's also going to be the title of the file. Now you can see that you can just double click that like you can in Excel to widen that if you don't like that. I'm not going to do anything with this at all because this is just going to be a summary task. There are features you can use up at top here on the ribbon to create summary tasks, but I'd like to do this myself. So install software room 1 is the first task. And then see, like I've done a typo there. I could say I did that on purpose, but I didn't. If I want to change that, you have to click in there, and if I double click it just opens up task information, and then I'm faffing about in here trying to get rid of it. That is why I've activated this, because I can now go up there, backspace that off, delete that and put a capital S and then tick, and then it fixes it. So it's good to have that there, I think. Install software room 1, test room 1, and coming down, room 1 complete. So that's like it's going to be a milestone when I do it. Now I want to do install software room 2, so I want to repeat this, so I can highlight these three, do Control C as you would in other Office programs, and just paste it underneath with Control V, and then you need to edit it obviously because that's going to be room 2, and then that's going to be room 2, and then that's going to be room 2 complete, like so. And then the whole project is going to be complete once all that's done. Project complete, like so. Now in terms of duration, I want install software is going to be 1 day. The default when you type 1 is 1 day. You don't want to leave a question mark on there. Test is 1 day. Room 1 complete is a milestone 0. 1 day, 0 milestone, and 0 project complete is a milestone. There's no time allocated to that. And we now need to link these together, but before I do that, this is not showing anything, so you don't want to go down there and start adding these up manually. What you need to do is indent these, so highlight this onto the task tab, indent, and then it's now incremented up and come up with 1 day total because they're all going on at the same time at the moment. Now I'm just looking at these are sitting on Saturday because it's Saturday today that I'm actually doing this project. So what I want to do is change that so this project starts on the Monday. Now if you go to the project tab and then project information, you can change the start date of the project to the 20th, and you can also change whether it runs from a finish date or a start date. Well, I'll leave it on a start date. This information I will cover at a later date. Click OK to that. Now everything moves to Monday and we haven't got anything sitting on the weekend. Now, so that's how you create a task list. Now how you link these together is quite simple as well. So on the task tab you've got a little chain link, or you can highlight them all and click the chain link and they will all link in like that. If I just undo that, Control Z, you might want to highlight just some of those and click the chain link, so they do that, and you might want to highlight those and click the chain link and they do that. Now all of that's great, but I'm just going to get rid of those, delete those off. You can also do it manually, which is what I prefer to do. So whatever number you put in this predecessors column is the task that goes before it. So test room 1 is following room 2 or task 2, so you can just put a 2 in there and then a 3 in there. Now install software room 2 is not dependent on that finishing, so I don't want to put a 4 in there. So what I do here is miss that out for a minute and put a 5 and then a 6. 5 and 6. So we basically got the same thing as before, but this is now going to be slightly different because the project complete has to follow 2 of these, that one and that one. So that is task 4. So you type in there 4 and then you need to do a comma, and that is task 7, 4 and 7. And then you get your line following it down like so. Now these are what are called just follow on tasks, so one task finishes before the next one starts. So FS is the abbreviation. Now obviously I haven't filled that one in because what I want this one to be, I want this one to start install software in room 2. I want it to start when that one starts. So I'm just going to double click into this one to show you where you need to go. So what this has got here is got a list of all the tasks, and then you've got the different types, which is what we're looking at now. So I want this to go with that one, so that's task 2, so I can put 2 in there in the ID, that fills it in, and there's the default FS. If I drop that down, you can see there's start to start, finish to finish, and finish to start. This is a 1, so when task 2 starts, this can start, and the start of task 2 will actually drive when this can start. So for example, engineer on room 1 is a senior engineer who knows what he's doing. The engineer on room 2 is just his buddy or his underling. He can't actually do anything until the main man turns up, or main woman. So I'll click on that one. The lead and lag column is on 0, so there's no delay or there's nothing going early. So I'll just click OK to that, and it will put 2SS in there, which I could have typed. Once you've done this a few times, you'll know what to type. You don't need the FS if it's just default. You only need to put them in if you've got a different type of link, which we now have, and there's the little line with an arrow pointing to task 5. So if I pick this up and move this forward a day or two, everything moves because these are follow on and these are pushed, and then those are follow ons. So I'll just undo that to bring it back. Now that's how you do the links. I'm not going to go for every single link. I've got other videos where I do that, but this is just to get you going with projects. So now we've done our little task list, we've done some links. On this side you've got the massive Gantt chart area where you can format the timeline and you can format what actually appears on this side. So I'm just going to double click on the white for a minute. I'll just close that for a second. I could have done this up there, format whatever I want to do. Bar styles is what that box was, but I just tend to double click on the white because I want the task name to be on this Gantt chart, not the resources. And we haven't done resources yet, but I'm just going to put name on there and then click OK to that, and then the task names go on there, so that's good. So if you wanted to print this off and you didn't want that information, you could just save it like that, print that off, and you can still see the tasks, which is great. Now in terms of adding resources, we need to go down to a different view, which is a resource sheet, and you've got columns for people's names or equipment. So we'll go Bob, Bill, Ben, and then Anne, and then we'll have Microsoft Office, that would be material, and we'll have paper, that will also be material. And the other thing you've got in there is cost. So for example, you could have a hotel. You can't actually put the cost in until you've allocated the hotel, so you don't know what the cost is. But for material, you've got a label option, so I'll put MSO. This is what will appear on the Gantt chart if you allocate this, if you had that setting, which we've just changed. So those two. These are work, you don't have anything for that column, but you can put them in a group. So I could say, he's a trainer, he's admin, and she's the manager. 100% mean they're available the whole time, 8 hours a day, and then they've got a rate of pay and an overtime if you want to put that in there. So I'll just put £10 and 15 for everybody. You can highlight it and pull it down like you can in Excel, and if you type it in the same figure over and over again, project jumps on you and says you can do what I've just done there. I put her down at £20 and £25 as a manager. In terms of material, every time you use something, so every time we allocate an office license, I'm going to say that's going to cost us 100 quid. And every time we use a pack of paper, it's going to cost us £1. Now if you put anything in this column, it's just a cost per use, one-off cost. You've got the thing set to prorated, which means it's going to be, as you update your project tasks, it's going to start costing you money. You can set that to do it at the start or at the end of the project. If you think you're going to leave the project halfway through and somebody else is going to cop the cost, it's a good thing to do that. Calendars, lots of different calendars. You've got 3 basic ones, but you can create your own calendars and allocate them for different types of work and shifts and things like that. But we'll just leave this on the basic standard calendar for these people. So there's your tasks, and there's your resources. So tasks and resources, these little buttons at the bottom are probably the quickest way to get to it. You've actually got a button there to get you to the Gantt chart, but if you've got this displayed, it's quite easy to see them there. You've also got them at the top there, Gantt chart, and different views. All the views are all there. Lots of different places to get to the different views. Now, to allocate those resources, you do this. You go to the Resource tab and you click Assign Resources. This will bring this box up, which will float on the screen, like so. And then you basically select a task and allocate the people and equipment. So I'll allocate Ben and 1 copy of Microsoft Office and 1 pack of paper. If you think that people are going to use more than the one pack of paper, because it's material, you can do this. You can go 1/ per hour. He's going to use 1 per hour at £1 each pack. So that then changes to 8 hours because there's an 8-hour day. So I've allocated those. You can see them in the just about underneath in the resource column. So resource names, you can see them. We haven't got it on the Gantt chart because I took it off. So on the test, let's say Bill does the test. He doesn't need any paper. That's a milestone, so you don't need that. Install software room 2 can be Bob, assign, and he needs Office. Now let's say it's going to be on that with Bill, so they need 2 Office licenses. So put it to 2, so that goes up to £200, and then they do need 2 packs of paper. Assign, and let's go for 2 packs of paper, so it's going to be 2 per hour. So that's gone up to 16. Testing can be Bob, assign, doesn't need nothing for that, and then everything else is okay. Project, you don't need resources on that. And let's do a project review task, an extra task. Project review, what went well, what didn't. And that'll be a 1-day task because I want Anne to do that. And I go back into there, I put Anne, who's the boss, she's going to review the project. Now if you over allocate anybody, at the moment nobody's gone red, but if we put something on a task that is doubling up somebody, they will go red. Now this one needs to follow on project complete, so that's task 8. Task 8, so there's a 3-day duration, like so. So everything's okay. We've added our tasks, we've linked them together, we've added our resources, and nobody's over allocated. If you want to see how they're allocated, you can go to the View tab at the top there and put the Details option on and change that to Resource Chart, not Resource Chart, Resource Graph, use the correct words. And then if you highlight everything, it gives you, so that's paper, each resource. So I go back through this, there's Microsoft Office, and it's telling you where that's allocated. And then what you're really looking for is the people, and what you're looking for is no red, because we don't want any over allocated resources. So this is good, everybody's happy. And just to show you, if I just put test there and get this to follow task 8 as well, so these two are banging together. And then a quick way of doing this, I'll just tick Anne on, which is going to make Anne go red. Now it hasn't actually made Anne go red because I think the settings at the top here under resource leveling options are on automatic, so I'll put that on manual because that's a default. I'll go through this in a different video. I'll clear leveling, entire project okay, so we're now getting Anne going red because that's what I wanted to show you. That's what you're trying to avoid. If I delete this bottom task, she's not over allocated. The leveling features is a great tool. Something, if it's on automatic, you saw that actually did it itself. That's a bit dangerous, I think. If you're not watching, you might not notice that. You think everything's set to the dates that you allocated, and in fact they've moved. But I did see that, so that was okay. Go back to view, take the tick off, and now we are ready. This project's ready to save a baseline, because that's the key part of Microsoft Project. You've set it up, you've got the task list, you've done your links, you've done your resources, nobody's over allocated. You now go to the project tab, set a baseline. So this is like a line in the sand. This is what you think is going to happen, and then everything measures from this. And you've got 11 baselines, including that one that hasn't got a number. I'll just leave it on the first one. Save that. So that's taken a snapshot. Now if I change the view over to one of the other tables, the cost table, you can see now the baseline cost has been put in there. The total cost is exactly the same as the baseline, so nothing's changed there. Now once you start updating a project, you should really go onto the tracking Gantt and the tracking table, which is what I'm going to put on here. So tracking Gantt view, tracking table, so you get the little marker there for your baseline on the tracking Gantt view, and then on these columns you get actual duration, etc. You can edit this. I'm going to get rid of that physical complete, and I'm going to add, right click, insert column, baseline start. I want baseline start, so I know what the planned start date was. I want baseline finish, and I want baseline duration. I always add these columns, baseline duration, that one, so we know what we planned. And then it is bad practice in my view to go use the percentage complete options all the time. What does 100% complete mean? If I just click that, it means this task is 100% complete, but did it go on time? Was it delayed? Was it quicker than expected, or was it, needing lots more resources? By doing 100% complete, you're basically saying everything was hunky-dory. Remember, you've taken a baseline snapshot, and that's what you need to measure. So this is how I do it. So this first task was due to start, let's just widen these a little bit. It was due to start on Monday the 20th. Let's say actual start was delayed, and it didn't start until the 22nd. So you see it pushes these off the baseline straight away, and it was due to finish on there, and it was only meant to be 1 day, but say actual duration was 3 days. So this, by me putting 3 in there, it will still do 100% complete, and it will fill in that as well, which is great, but it's a more accurate way of doing it. So if I just press enter on that, there you can see it's complete. Everything's now gone along. So because this is starting with test install software room 2 as well, I'll do the same for that. So let's just say that took 3 days as well, because the date I don't need to change because it's already been pushed forward by the first one because it has a start to start link. So those two are complete. Now if I go for test room 1, let's say that has already taken 2 days and there is 1 day left, an extra day still to go. You see how this changes back to show you how that has impacted on your project. So baseline duration was 3 days. You're already on 5 days because of that one there. Now if I do tests, I'll just do one more. Let's say this was 3 days, testing went a bit wrong on this one, and there's 2 days left. You can now see how this is impacting and the cost that this is costing you. Now all the time that this is going on, this is what you have to do. So if you've put too many tasks down in your task list, and it's War and Peace, which is a big book, and you have to edit that, you can see how time consuming that can be. So you want to be careful what you list in this task list, just things that actually need updating. And then don't be going like this and blocking it off and updating it all, because then it's probably pointless. It's just you're not using project properly. While you're doing this, you can look at the reports, and there's some preset reports, and you'll have custom reports that you can create yourself, but I haven't created any on this one there. But if I just go to the dashboard one, you've got a project overview report. If I click on that, it's telling you the status, what you've done. It's not a lot of information there because it's only a 3-4 day, whatever it is now, 5-day project. And you can go to different, if I go to costs, cost overruns, so it's giving you some cost, baseline cost variances there. You can see that there's £1,000 variance on the project. And then if you go, what else have we got there? Don't want getting started. Resources, over allocated resources, there shouldn't be any of that. So remaining work on a task, coloured up there. This is your baseline work, so obviously you can see how that's affected the baseline work, which will affect the cost, which will affect the time. So you can have a look at these and you can run these reports whenever you want. Now if I go back to the Gantt chart, have a look. This is the Gantt chart with the cost table, so we should be on the tracking Gantt. And this is where we're doing our work. Now there's nothing to stop you doing the work on the other Gantt charts, but it's just my personal preference. I like to use the tracking one, the tracking table within the tracking Gantt view. So that's a very quick look at how project works, a very simplified look how it works, and obviously you can get into a lot more detail on that, and I have done videos already on that, and I will do other ones. So hopefully for those of you looking at project for the first time, that was of use. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the next one.